party!
E-Swat, or Cyber Police E-Swat to give it its proper title, is a side-scrolling run-and-gun shooter developed by Sega on its System 16 hardware and released in arcades in 1989. The game is similar to another Sega arcade game, Shinobi, but E-Swat is actually closer to resembling Namco's Rolling Thunder, but in a simultaneous two-player format. Players take control of Duke Oda, a member of the Liberty City Cyber Police Force tasked with finding and arresting the city's most wanted criminals and eventually dismantling a terrorist organisation planning world domination. The goal of each of the game's 15 stages is to find and arrest a specific wanted criminal who is usually fought at the end of the stage as a boss. Duke is initially armed with only a single shot pistol, but upon arresting the first 3 criminals and being promoted to E-SWAT, Duke is equipped with a power suit with a mounted machine gun for the rest of the game. The suit also has access to limited use special weapons, which can be found within stages. However, both of Duke's standard weapons require ammunition, without which the player can only attack with a kick. Additional ammunition can be found in boxes throughout each stage.
You die, bullet one!
The gameplay is very straightforward and simplistic. You just run along and shoot the bad guys as they appear on screen, and make sure to pick up enough ammo as you can run out very quickly indeed. It's not just the gameplay that's simplistic. These backgrounds, for example, they look like something out of a child's paint by numbers book. Everything looks so bland and dull and flat and lifeless. There doesn't seem to be much colour graduation on any of the backgrounds at all, meaning most buildings are a solid colour from top to bottom. This looks really bad in the later levels of the game. In fact, this game looks like it's from 1986 and not 1989. The animation on the main sprite in the cop form is okay, but he just has this silly walk, and the way the arm without the gun moves make it look like he's carrying an invisible bag of shopping or something. The silly walk doesn't get any better when he gets his E-SWAT armour either. The animation on the enemy sprites is pretty choppy at times, but at others, actually looks okay. The sound is another oddity. Some of the sound effects for the pistol and special weapons are okay. Pretty much standard fare. But the explosions just sound like a short, bubbly fart. And the flamethrower sounds like you have just had a madras and 10 pints of lager, which is quite fitting, I suppose, as this is what your arse would feel like after consuming that lot. music just doesn't seem to fit the action or style of game. It's almost like it was borrowed from another game. This is a game about a cop in a robotic suit of armour, like Robocop, and you would expect the soundtrack to sound similar, with the digital and electronic theme music, but this soundtrack seems better suited to some cheap 70s porno movie. Even with all these complaints, I still had a go on this at the arcades. It wasn't a game I played often, but it was a Sega game, and when the shows came into town, it was only 10 pence a go, so why not? Even though it had issues, I was still happy to see it ported over to the Sega Megadrive a year later.
E-Swat.
And this is a version that Mega Drive owners got, which really is E-Swat in name only. In fact, this is not even accurate, as this was called E-Swat City Under Siege. I had a quick go on this at Computer Genius in Paisley, and my first impression was, it's nothing like the arcades at all. But after 5 minutes of play, I was thankful of it not being like the arcade version, as this version is just so much better. I would still have liked it to be a simultaneous 2-player, but you can't have everything. Let's go back to the intro first. I still remember seeing this and thinking to myself, that's a lot better than the arcades, that's for sure. And then when you start the game, the first thing you notice are the graphics. And in this game, you notice how much smaller everything is. But that was actually a good thing, as with smaller sprites comes a larger play area, making it easier to see oncoming enemies and the like. The animation on the main sprite is much improved also. The invisible bag of shopping is gone, and now the gun is held in both hands. The walk as well just seemed to be more purposeful, like the character is actually focused on cleaning up the streets of crime. The backgrounds look a whole lot better too. Plenty of colour graduation from the Mega Drive's tiny 512 colour palette being put to use. Although there is still a lack of variety in many stages. The level bosses look fantastic in this port as well. The helicopter at the end of level 1, this, whatever this is at the end of level 3, they look fantastic. The animations on the robotic arms of the boss at the end of level 4, and my favourite is the boss at the end of the 5th level. The detail in this one is excellent, with fans whirring and the whole thing bobbing about like it's under hydraulic control or something. The music is still disappointing in a lot of levels though, and again just doesn't seem to fit the theme of the level. But the boss music is excellent, really fast paced, really energetic. It really does help boost the atmosphere of the boss encounters no end. terms of playability, this is more a platform game with shooting elements, as opposed to being a run and gun. But unlike the arcade, this just plays better. The fact you're not limited to a certain amount of ammo makes a massive difference to the gameplay, but still manages to keep the difficulty level intact. Compared to the arcade version, this is just miles better in every department. I always had this feeling with the arcade game that Sega were experimenting with the idea of a 2-player Shinobi, but wanted to test the waters first, and then dropped that idea. And so they repackaged that 2-player Shinobi as E-Swat. But this Megadrive version feels like this was a game that was designed to be like this from the start. I had this game in my collection very soon after playing the demo at Computer Genius, and it was a game I thoroughly enjoyed playing, and to be honest, when I want to play E-Swat, I always come back to play this version. It wasn't the best game on the Megadrive, but it was one of the most fun games to play, and if you haven't played it, then please give it a go. And that's all from me, folks. Please feel free to leave your comments on E-Swat regardless of what version you prefer, and also to please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Mission completed.